Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video I'll be sharing with you all of the books that I ended up reading in February. So February was a really good reading month despite being the shortest month of the year. I still managed to read 5 books and one of them was over 800 pages. So I feel very accomplished for that. And they're kind of all over in terms of genre. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So starting out, I first read the Tales and Teacups book club picks for the months of January and February, which was the Book of Lost Names by Kristin Harmel. And I do have a spoiler-free review of this book, and I'll link it up in the cards if you want to go and check that out. But this is one just based on your guys' feedback. Either some of you really loved this and some of you did not like this at all. I think I was kind of in between. There were aspects of this book that I liked and some parts that I didn't. So overall I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. It follows a girl named Eva who is a semi-retired librarian in Florida, and one day when she's working at the library she sees this book that she hasn't seen in basically like 50-60 years, and so it kind of brings her back to her time growing up in Nazi-occupied France. The book that she sees is the Book of Lost Names, which is a book that she recorded the names of Jewish children that she helped smuggle out into neutral Switzerland. So she wrote the real identities of these children in this book, hoping one day they might know who they are. And so this follows Eva. So while this is all going on, we get flashbacks of Eva kind of growing up in France and eventually kind of leading to the German invasion and eventually her involvement in the resistance. And just with that synopsis, I feel like this book had such potential and I was really let down. Like I said, there were aspects of this book that I really enjoyed. I think learning about the French resistance and kind of learning about foraging documents was really interesting, and just the techniques people had during this time. I felt like I learned a lot with that. But there were aspects of this story that just didn't seem realistic and were kind of semi-annoying. Like, the more I think about this, I kind of want to drop my rating to a 2.5. Like, it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't like the best World War II historical fiction book that I read. There were aspects in here where the mother was just very much blaming her daughter for everything that happened, which clearly it was not her fault that these like Germans invaded, France and all this stuff. And her mom, I just didn't feel like was really realistic and just kind of was so angry, and I didn't feel, like I said, didn't feel realistic. I felt the romance aspect in here was very much kind of rushed, and I understand, like, people can die at any minute, so let's get married while we can, but I didn't feel like we really didn't get to see that relationship blossom or bloom into everything, and it just felt like a Hallmark movie. I felt like characters were stereotypes and just like one-dimensional. They just weren't really fleshed out. We never really got to see it. I feel like Eva was just very naive, and it was just annoying reading from her perspective because yes, like, she's putting herself in danger for all these things, but she was kind of, I felt like at more times focused on love, and like there'd literally be monologues of her asking her questions like, does he love me, like what is this, like literally I'm like, there's a war going on. I feel like your priorities should be elsewhere. So like I said, I was really disappointed. This synopsis made it sound really amazing, so I was really disappointed by this. Like I said, for you guys that joined us for the book club, it was kind of hit or miss for most people, so it was interesting to see how most people, like a lot of people, were divided on how they felt. But yeah, hopefully the next book club pick will be a little bit more positive. So next up, I finally ended up picking up Darkness Falls by Robert Bryndza. This has been on my TBR since December, so I was happy that I was finally able to check it off of the list. But basically, this is the 3rd book in the Kate Marshall series. So the basic premise of this is that we follow Kate Marshall, who 15 years ago was at the height of her career. She ended up discovering who the 9 Elms killer was, the murderer that was like the serial killer that was taking place, and what should have been the highlight of her career ended up bringing her a lot of turmoil. She was kind of ripped to pieces by the media, and so we see her 15 years after that kind of still trying to piece together her life after that fallout, and She's now a criminology professor, but this kind of follows her along a different path. I don't want to spoil too much, but this is kind of the mystery is that Kate is approached by this family whose daughter disappeared over 10 years ago, and they just never found out what happened to her, and it's been bothering the mother ever since. So she is hired to kind of see if there's any new developments in this cold case, and it kind of goes off from there. I feel like this author is really good at writing these murder mysteries, because not only do you get like the killer's perspective kind of thrown into the mystery side, but the chapters are incredibly short, like really short, so it makes the book really fast paced and you just kind of fly through this right away. And I feel like even like throughout these books, I really love seeing Kate grow as a character. She's very flawed, and I love how this book doesn't shy away from those flaws and just see her kind of struggle with these kind of demons that she's kind of dealing with. I think it's really interesting to see how that plays out. And yeah, just seeing her relationship, her like work relationship kind of grow with Kristin was also really fun as well. So if you're looking for like a newer crime series, I highly recommend you check this like series out. It is really well written. There's only, like I said, 3 books out, so you can get caught up pretty easily. And yeah, these books are just really good. This one was so intense. The ending was just phenomenal. And yeah, I can't wait to see what happens next. So around this time in February, it was around close to Valentine's Day, so you know what, I was like, I'm just gonna pick up a kind of rom-com novel, and it is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I was recommended this book by my lab mate because she really enjoyed this book, and I enjoyed it as well. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. It basically follows these 2 friends who start a friendship when they're in university, and every year since their friendship they've gone on a summer vacation together. So this one we see them, I want to say it's like 12 years after they've first met, and they've had a falling out and you really don't understand why. But when the 2 characters try to piece together their lives, they try to go on a vacation together again as they're kind of dealing with the fallout of what happened 2 years prior. And so while this is going on with like the present day storyline, you do get like flashbacks of their previous trips, which I thought was really fun to see. There were parts of here that I liked and some that I didn't. I think like Poppy as a character I found to be somewhat annoying, and the conflict in here could have easily been solved through, just proper communication skills. And so I do find it slightly annoying when books just have that lack of communication trope that leads to conflict, because it was very obvious what that was going to be. And so if there is something a little bit different in here, I think I would have enjoyed it a little bit more. And Poppy as a character kind of irked me sometimes. Like, I feel like she was so focused on like high school bullying, and I'm like, you're almost in your 30s and you're still thinking about the bullying that you had in high school. I feel like everyone has been bullied in high school, and to still let that affect you basically 15 years after that, I think was a little bit annoying and unrealistic. But I did really love the ending. Like, I love that like declaration of love monologue where they try to like piece everything together, which is, I don't feel like is a spoiler because I feel like that happens in every kind of romance rom-com type thing. But I loved that like monologue at the end, and just the dynamic between Poppy and Alex was really interesting because they're very much opposites, and just seeing them interact and their friendship grow throughout the years was a lot of fun to see. So yeah, I thought this was like a decent romance book. So continuing on with my reread of the Recieve Isle series, I ended up picking up the 3rd book in the series, which is The Sinner by Tess Gerritsen. This is the point in the series where I don't remember a lot of the details. Like, I remember some things here or there and things that happened in like previous books, but because it's been almost like 12 years since I read these books, it's kind of like reading them for the first time because I've forgotten so much about like these books because I read them such a long time ago. But I will say this reread has been really rewarding. I feel like I've just appreciate these books more as an adult. There are things that I pick up on here that I didn't when I was 15. And yeah, this book has you guessing. Like, the ending in here is totally suspenseful and creepy, and it was like a wild ride. So I feel like this series holds up to my memory of it and may even you know, live up to it more now that I can appreciate some aspects in here that I didn't really understand when I was 15. So this, as I said, is the third book in the series, and we do get more kind of perspective into Mara's kind of side to the story. So it's a good split between Mara and Jane and their stories. I feel like, you know, Mara isn't even really introduced until the second book, and we barely get to know her. So I'd love to kind of seeing more character development. We get to see more of their friendship really kind of take place in this one. And basically the story starts out where two nuns have been attacked in their convent, and the mystery kind of takes off from there, and it ties in with something with India, because the first chapter opens up with this man like investigating this town that has been wiped clean in India, and that somehow ties in. But yeah, Tess Gerritsen is an amazing author. She has this way of weaving in these stories because you don't understand how the chapter when it opens up in India ties in with these nuns in Boston, and just how she was able to do that seamlessly, keeping the readers on their toes and just keeping it super suspenseful was a lot of fun. I read like the last little bit at nighttime, and it really creeped me out. Like I had a hard time falling asleep afterwards. That's how you know that is like a good kind of intense ending. But yeah, I've really enjoyed reading these, rereading these now in preparation for the new book coming out in July. So just because I wasn't able to get to my second book for this month, so in March I'll have to read 3, but I'm not complaining because that just means you can marathon through them. So yeah, gave this 4 to 5 stars. It's been a really good reread so far. So lastly, finishing out the month, I ended up picking up one of my most anticipated new releases of the year, and it is A Quart of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. I'm not going to do any spoilers with this one, but man, I could like this. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. Like I understand some of the flaws and, you know, aspects of Sarah J. Maas books, and I do understand the criticism and agree with it, but man, I'm just invested in her books, and yeah, this book was no different. I just feel like, you know, I just hit the ground running. I couldn't put it down. Like I was just obsessed with this. So basically the premise of this series, it takes place in this metropolitan world where there's humans, there's fae, there's angels, there's, you know, wolves, like all these like mythical creatures and humans living together in this one city. In the first book we get introduced to Bryce, and her best friend and her friend group end up getting murdered one day, and that kind of throws her life through the window. And so she ends up getting approached by this angel who's part of kind of like the police department there to investigate her death 2 years afterwards, because there are a string of murders taking place that are eerily similar to the murders of her friend. And it kind of goes off from there. I think like this story is so complex, like I can't even give it a good synopsis. It's one where you just kind of have to dive right in, and I honestly love this book. I couldn't put it down. It was just so intense, so fun, and that ending here left me shocked. Like I felt like I was like, I feel like this is gonna happen, because they keep alluding to certain things, and I'm like, my brain is like, will like this actually happen? And I was like, maybe not, like I don't know. But I kind of guessed it, but I was still shocked because I was like, I don't believe how this could happen. Like it was so crazy. The ending left me literally speechless. And yeah, like I said, I'm just obsessed with her books. This one was just a lot of fun, I like how this one kind of has more mystery tied in, like mystery, you know, crime investigations. And we get to see more perspectives of some of the side characters that we get introduced to, but I feel like we get more kind of, you know, perspectives from them, which makes it a lot more fun, more well-rounded story from this ensemble cast. So honestly, I cannot wait to see what happens next. It was just a crazy wild ride, and I was like gripped from page 1. That's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what some of the books that you read over the month of February and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.